The Everything Sequel podcast is brought to you by the Vegas Beer Guys and Tua T Fitness.
Mike and Tom are washing their mouths out with soap because the Everything Sequel podcast contains explicit language. Hello and welcome to the Everything Sequel podcast. This is the Naked Gun edition. Pitching sequels. My name is Michael Shantz. I'm from the How Dare You Awards. With me, Pitchmaster himself, Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions. Hello, Tom.
Never bet on the white guy. Which doesn't
That's
really
all
help
you
us.
know. That's all you know.
Which doesn't really help us if you're about to.
Right?
It's not useful information if you're about to vote on our pitches. So then you have to determine which of Michael and I are less white. Which
that's no easy choice, my friend.
Because
Wow.
you've also got two different nationalities to deal with, so
Right.
yeah.
All right. Well, I find this particular pitch very interesting.
Yeah.
More than anything, just because we haven't pitched such a broad set of movies.
True. Yeah, neither of us decided we wanted to pitch Airplane 3, for instance.
I'll say. Only half-heartedly.
I feel like having talked through these movies, I have a better sense of where Airplane 2 went wrong.
That's interesting.
I think they focus too much on the jokes themselves, not the connective
And not enough
tissue.
story.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I think, it really, I mean, I said it almost as a joke that this is a screenwriting masterclass. But if your assumptions about comedy writing are that it's about the joke, not the concept or how the joke connects to something else, I think these movies show that you're missing the point.
Mm-hmm. Were you... I mean... So I talked about how it was interesting to do this. Was this easy for you, or did you find it difficult?
Did I find it difficult?
I had to ruminate for a couple of days. But once I had my idea, plus that's,
what
you have to start with the title, don't you?
Yeah, I know. That's a high standard.
And that's no easy task.
Yeah, that's true. It's definitely more challenging than you think it would be for such a broad set of movies. But again, it reaffirmed to me that, because I assume that pitching these movies, you will be like, well, this gets us to that gag, and that gets us to this gag, and that. But it's actually the opposite. Like, I find myself thinking more about story points.
Well, and I was going to say, because in
Like,
our pitches,
Yeah.
I tend to have a pitch. I'll give you a blurb. You usually are so in depth, you're giving us plot point by plot point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's not going to change, but I think it's like it was interested this like, compared to some of the other dramatic movies that we've pitched before, that I'm thinking way more about story and structure in this than I was about them. And that says a lot to me, again, the high standards of comedy. It's harder to do comedy than it is to do drama on some occasions. Like,
Sure.
trying to make something funny requires way more craft than making something sincere or mildly diverting. I think, because we all have most of us have an idea of like what moves us, what will what we will find interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But comedy is totally different. It's like we have to get from point A to point B via the best possible route.
Yeah.
So it's hard on three. There's like three aspects there that are almost impossible to match. So I have such admiration for the people who make comedy movies that work, because that's clearly no mean feat.
I get you.
So it was very. I guess it was very challenging, but. And again, just thinking, if you think about it in terms of, does this make sense? And this is bizarre to say for the Naked Gun movies. Does this make sense in terms of the story we're telling?
Mm-hmm.
If you keep that through line, weirdly everything falls into place. Like, you don't even need to plan the jokes. The jokes will happen. I found.
Okay.
So, yeah, leave your preconceptions at the door. I do have some jokes.
I'm sure you do.
I don't want to. I don't
get
give
bogged
the idea
down
that...
into like the specifics like you do, but I have the chunk idea. I have the other thing that I want to spoof.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
yeah. Oh yeah, no, I'm with you. And again, it's like, yeah, I definitely agree on this. Like, you need to know what to steal. As Mel Brooks once said.
Yeah.
You need, well, no, actually what he said was, you need to know where to steal from.
Yes.
Which is one of the most important advice, I think, when you're doing parody, pastiche, that kind of work. It's like, you shouldn't just be taking from whatever the latest thing is. You need to be, however I am doing that, but hopefully in a satisfactory way.
I'm adjacent to that. I'm really close to that, but, well, we'll find out what you think when we pitch.
I want to hear yours.
You want me to go first?
I think I do, yeah.
Okay. Well, my movie is called, I'm going back to The Naked Gun 44 1/4 Magnum : The Clean Off. Dirty Harry reference.
I fully understand that title.
44 Magnum.
44 Magnum.
As in the gun. And it'll blow your head clean off.
But it's just the words clean off.
Yeah. The Clean Off.
44 Magnum : Clean Off.
The Clean Off.
The Clean Off.
Yeah. Because I am setting my story, my friend, in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
Home of Dirty Harry.
Which, considering what you said in the previous episode, makes sense. You want to change up the city every time as a running gag. Great.
So, that's why we are in San Francisco. That's why we'll have Dirty Harry references. But I'm not stopping there, of course. So...
Unforgiven plays a role?
No. All right, here's the story. Like I think I mentioned, in our last episode, in Naked Gun 33 1/3, Frank sort of rejoins Police Squad in order to help foil the crime. Mm-hmm. So he stays on, and now we're in the last 2 weeks of his second and final retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Although, even to continue the gag, it might even be better if you say, this is the 10th and last time that Frank is going to retire from Police Squad, that kind of thing.
And we all know someone like that.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the college studied in a film studies department, and back in the days when you had actual projectionists on staff, like projecting real film cans.
Mm-hmm.
And the projectionist was actually called Frank. And I went to 2 of his retirement parties. And like I found out on Facebook that he retired a few years ago, as like for the final time.
That's great.
So that's a very relatable joke.
Yeah. Oh, I left out an important detail. So the reason we're in the last 2 weeks is because on Frank's last day, his ex-girlfriend, fairly newly elected Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi, has been getting death threats. Not from Scorpio.
Wait. The Nancy Pelosi?
Yes.
What happened to Jane?
I said ex-girlfriend.
What, so he split up with Jane and then... Oh,
No,
before
he's
Jane?
with Jane. This Nancy Pelosi was before Jane.
Okay.
All right?
So this is set in the modern day?
No.
I'm regretting letting you go first. This is confusing.
This is like 97. We're going to have the 3-year gap that we always have. So
Okay.
88, 91, 94, 97. Nancy Pelosi was elected in 87. Before she was elected, I mean, I don't know enough about her real life. I'm going to say that Frank was supporting her while she was running for office.
Okay.
She's elected to office, they break up. Which is
Right.
perfect because she's elected in 87, and then in 88, we start up with Frank's current story as we know it.
Don't want to get the Nancy Pelosi biographical timeline wrong, or people will just leave the theater.
Yeah.
Bearing
But
in mind, at
because-
the end of the last movie, a 68-year-old man and a 50-year-old woman had a kid.
So he's called in to help foil the crime. It's not Scorpio, it's Libra. The least menacing sounding zodiac sign we could probably come up with.
And also my sign, just FYI.
Well, I'm on the cusp. So some things will list me as a Libra and others will list me as a Scorpio.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Now, so, Frank and Ed and Nordberg all on the case. We're going to assume that real life events don't fuck up our timeline for the movie.
And just a reminder to listeners, we have a time machine
Yes.
that will counter all eventualities.
All actual questions of
Yeah. We can
common sense.
Right. If we want, we can freeze O.J. Simpson in 1993
Correct.
forever.
Which I have to do to make this work.
Cryogenically?
Yeah. So their police squad is on the case, and we're going to be sending up and having a lot of fun with the Dirty Harry series. But
Oh,
then I also
nice.
want, because there's no reason this should happen in the case of a not newly at this time, but in a case of a sitting U.S. representative,
Mm-hmm.
there's absolutely no reason for the police squad people to go on a vacation, but they're going to be forced on vacation, a la 1986's Running Scared.
Mm.
And they're going to go to Florida, and we'll have a bit with Nordberg and Frank, sort of Gregory Hines and Billy Crystal-esque.
Ugh.
Yes.
I don't know if I can watch O.J. Simpson in Florida.
He won't be
As long
wearing
as
a
he's
mask.
not, as long as
He
he's
won't
not
be
pranking
wearing
people,
disguises and sneaking up on people.
as long as he's not pranking people in whiteface, I'm okay.
But then they will realize their calling. Frank's going to, and so meanwhile, of course, there's also going to be a subplot between, Frank, his current wife, they have a child, and now this ex-girlfriend who's very successful is back in their life. So that'll be the tension between he and Jane. And then he'll have to come back from vacation to foil the crime. Naked Gun 44 1/4.
Does the Libra follow them Cape Fear style to Florida?
Oh, no. I had not considered that, but I had considered this. In our last episode, I mistakenly said Gould instead of Goulet. You want to know why? Because I was going to give you one of three choices for the villain.
Oh, great. Go for it.
And it was so the Uber villain, and I couldn't decide yet if he should actually be Libra or just the man pulling the strings for Libra. Maybe Libra is, what's the character's name that isn't in 1 and 3?
Pap Smear?
Pap Smear? Yeah. So that might be Libra, but I thought of Elliot Gould, Wayne Newton, or Buck Henry.
Wayne Newton.
The only thing that made me waver on Wayne Newton is we had, a singer in the last one. Well, not the last one, but in 2.
Yeah, but we both agreed that we should probably go back to that.
All right.
And also, oh my God, we went through a whole episode. I didn't mention James Bond.
Holy shit, you're right.
That's the first time that ever happened. I guarantee it.
I can't imagine that it's anything other than the first time.
Because I was just to say, Wayne Newton is a sort of henchman. That says it all in about License to Kill. He's a sort of henchman in a sort of Bond movie called License to Kill. And he's wonderful. He's one of the highlights of the movie. So I
he's
would be
great.
Not to do a disservice to Elliot Gould or Buck Henry.
So there you have it.
Naked
Wayne
Gun,
Newton it is.
44 Magnum
and a quarter
PI
Magnum.
Off.
Magnum PI. Is that what you said?
Magnum PI off. Magnum PISS off. Great. Well, I like a lot about that. I like the fact that the Dirty Harry's right in the pocket of the kind of movie that the Zuckers would be able to parody perfectly. So,
agreed.
Okay. Well, as you say, there's normally a 3-year gap between these movies, but I'm putting the time machine to full
All right,
effect.
go ahead.
And I've actually come up with a projected time in which I want this movie to be released.
All right.
Which is 2009, 2010. Anywhere in there is fine.
All right. Go on.
Because I want the title and some of the on-screen references to still be in the zeitgeist.
Okay.
We're exactly too far away from them now for them to work. In 2009, 2010, it's gonna hit better. Okay?
Heard.
So the name of my movie is Naked Gun 4.0
Of course.
The future is later.
I like it.
Okay. So, our cold open is a pastiche of a Paramount property. It's the Indiana Jones cycle.
Hey.
We can play with imagery of the entire trilogy plus Crystal Skull, which has just come out.
Hoofa.
But one thing I want to so I'm thinking it's like it's Indy going in Alexandria, going through the series of challenges to the Holy Grail.
Mm-hmm.
Like, roughly. It doesn't have to be the same, but, using that imagery. But I want them to do the Raiders thing of filming him from the back where you don't see his face.
Do you see the silver hair?
No, because at one point I want him to turn around, and you think it's going to be Leslie Nielsen, but it is actually Harrison Ford who turns around as Indiana Jones, fresh off Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. As we pointed out in our Harry Potter series, apparently it's a loose enough set that John Hurt can just walk away in his costume with his hair and makeup and go and do another movie. So I'm taking full advantage of that.
All right.
So it's Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones. And about halfway through the Holy Grail Challenge, suddenly we hear, Junior! And Leslie Nielsen's playing his dad.
That's great.
So we don't know what this is about yet or how it relates to anything. But when they get to they do all the challenges and then they get to the Holy Grail, and it's a desktop computer with a password encryption.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That they have to figure out. So, and we crossfade into Frank Drebin's home. He's a retired man in his whatever age Leslie Nielsen was at that time. I don't know if he died yet, but it doesn't matter because we have a time machine.
Mm-hmm.
And his son, played by Harrison Ford.
Oh my gosh.
Saying, Dad, this is how you remember your password. And he's fallen asleep in the middle of Harrison Ford telling him that how to figure his password. And he's like, why do you fall asleep whenever I try to explain this to you? And he's like, I said, I need my nap in the afternoons. Ooh. And then Jane...
For your reference, died in 2010, but we got the time machine.
Perfect.
He'll have made the movie.
He's got one more in him.
Yeah.
So let's say this came out in 2009.
Great.
And then Priscilla Presley's Jane runs in and says, Francis Ford Drebin, referring, of course, to Harrison Ford. So you know not to interrupt your father in the middle of his afternoon nap. Harrison Ford, who still lives at home at age, 60, whatever he is.
Yeah, so, right.
Storms into his room. He closes his door. There's a sign on the door that says, shoot first, ask questions later. He dives into his Star Wars bedspread. And Frank turns to Jane and says, we really should have saved for his college. And then he says, okay, Frank, get back to your nap. And he falls back asleep and goes back into the Indiana Jones dream. This time it's Raiders of the Lost Ark. He's about to take the head from the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark and exchange it for something. But it's coffee beans. And he wakes up and says, I gotta go and pick up the beans before the roasters closes. Because remember, he said in Naked Gun 33 and 30, he grinds his own beans.
Yeah, he does.
So he says, the wholesaler's closes in 30 minutes. Jane says that. Says the wholesaler closes in 30 minutes. And he says, I'll be there in 10. Pulp Fiction reference, the wolf driving.
Wolf.
But that leads into the opening sequence, which marries the car gags and the siren opening sequence, because he puts a siren on his car so he can get through the traffic. So that what we're seeing is basically him driving, trying to use his GPS, lots of background gags, but it's you basically matching those two sequences, so you do them all at once. His GPS isn't working, or he can't get it to work, so he goes to the wrong address, and he ends up going to a Colombian cartel drug deal that he thinks is a coffee wholesaler's. The place he's looking for just happens to be called the Colombian Connection. 100% good stuff. And so when he walks in and saying, is this the Colombian Connection? It's like, yeah, step right in. He said, yeah, this is the place. It's like, we have all the jokes about, hey, we've got some, you want to have a sample? We've got some ready to go here. And it's like, oh, I can't have too much of it or I'll keep me up all night. And so, lots of double meanings.
Yeah.
Coffee and cocaine, basically. And at one point he says, I got to get out of here and head to the pharmacy. And it's like, well, you got a working pharmacy here. What do you need? And he pulls out his CVS coupons. His CVS receipt, and his police badge flies across the room. They see he's a cop. they machine gun him down. Frank's dead. Minutes into the movie, Frank's dead. So we're at his funeral.
How dare you?
We're at his funeral. Ed's there, Jane's there, Francis Ford Drebin, played by Harrison Ford, is there. We start a running gag which will pay off at the end of the movie where Norberg isn't there. And Jane says to Ed, "Where's Norberg? You know, I didn't think he'd miss this." He goes, "Oh, Norberg, he would love to be here, but let me tell you." But before you get a chance, the priest screams, "Who graffitied loser on the deceased casket?" And there's Francis Ford Drebin with like a can of spray paint in the background, and he points and goes, "It wasn't me, it was the one-armed man." And then we cut away to the priest who has one arm, and he's like, "Don't talk," he said, "that's the guy giving the service." And he runs away, and it cuts to footage of the fugitive where he runs over a hill, he disappears, and we see him like as 1993 fugitive falling down a waterfall. Anyway, so basically the cybernetics department of Police Squad, run by Ted, of course, says, you know, we can rebuild him, we can RoboCop him. We can turn him into a RoboCop, but it is said, but it's a special. We can a Robo retired cop, so he'll do everything that a retired cop did. So you know, we get a montage of him trying to back out of a driveway, like drinking whiskey at a bar, coming into the office saying, "I got a hunch about an unsolved case," you know, that sort of thing. But it's so, you know, everyone's happy with this arrangement. We've got, you know, Robo Frank, the retired cop. But the extra layer of this is that he's being controlled robotically by none other than Ricardo Montalban, who survived the flattening and has used the same cybernetics he used to make everyone robots assassins, has kind of kept him alive. Except he's completely one-dimensional now. So they'll need to get that goodwill they built with George Lucas when they asked for permission for the Star Wars clips. They're going to have to go back to that, because we're going to need good special effects. Because it's going to be Ricardo Montalban as basically a piece of paper.
Right.
Okay. And we also have now Pap Smear is there. He's been restored from his plane explosion, and it's now half him, half Fred Ward, and a toilet in between them. So he's being controlled. What's happening is President Obama is brokering a peace deal in the Middle East, and so the two representatives of either side are coming to Washington. By the way, this is all taking place in Washington. We've gone back to Washington again for no reason. They all now live in Washington. And Frank is going to be there providing security, you know, a demonstration of the new RoboCop technology. But Ricardo Montalban has a plan to use Frank as an assassin to kill both sides of the peace agreement, to take out both leaders and Obama.
Oh, no.
You know. Yeah. And so he's going to be controlled robotically. So anyway, he gets there, he starts to raise his gun. He gets the, you know, calling back to the first movie, he gets the robotic call on the watch, on the digital watch,
right,
from Ricardo Montalban. And Jane, who is also there, tries to talk him out of it in a reversal of the end of the first movie when he talked her out of being a robot assassin. Gotcha. Except this time Ricardo Montalban's, you know, saying, I gotta, you know, it's like, I've figured that out and there's a workaround. I can block any emotions. So that doesn't work and he's still going for it. But then Francis Ford Drebin turns up and says, Dad, I enrolled in police academy. I'm on a fast track to becoming a retired cop. It's like, they're just going to take me straight to be a retired cop in 2 weeks. And that's what breaks him down emotionally. And so he doesn't, you know, he's a hero. He doesn't kill any of the members of the Middle East peace deal. He goes to the cybernetics company, which is, of course, on the top, a la Robocop, at the top floor of a skyscraper. And he goes and confronts Ricardo Montalban.
And Ronnie Cox?
No, Ronnie Cox won't be there, no.
Right.
Won't be that direct. And he's like, I can, he's basically there to throw Ricardo Montalban out of the window. But of course, rather than killing him a la Robocop, it turns out that we've established earlier in the movie, Ricardo Montalban needs, if the window is open, he needs to be held down by paperweights, because he's essentially a piece of paper. So Frank just removes the paperweight. He goes flying out of the window. Unfortunately, he doesn't die. He just lands, and he's like, "Aha!" Because he flies, because he's made of paper. He turns into a paper airplane.
Oh, I understand.
And he looks around, of course. He looks around, and he ends up in... He landed in the zoo, in the lion pit, and lions just kind of come on him. So call back to what happened in Naked Gun. Yeah,
and a half.
2.5. And then someone from the cybernetics board says, "What's your name?" He's like, "Drebin." And then he screws his head. He screws his machine head, a la the end of RoboCop 2, tightens his head with a screwdriver. It sends him crazy. He flies out of the window. And as he's falling down, we cut to the bottom of the bottom of the cybernetics building, where the first ever successful recipient of a brain transplant is being wheeled out. And it's like, "Okay, Mr. Norberg." So O.J. Simpson is Norberg, and suddenly, he's speaking like Patrick Stewart. So he's saying, "Thank you, my good man. Might I impose on you for might I impose on you for a sample of your Franklin mint to speed my carriage of not horse drawn?" And it's like, "You mean cab fare?" "Yeah, cab fare." And the press turn up suddenly, and it's like, "Yeah, I'm so sorry. I tried to get out of here, but it's like they want to see the first successful recipient of a brain transplant." And then O.J. Simpson, preening in front of the camera, says, "Well, if the glove fits." And but of course, as soon as he poses for the camera, Frank falls down. He looks up, and going back to original Norberg, his eyes widen, and he goes, "Frank!" Smacks, crushed it, and then Frank Drebin gets up, and the press are all taking photos of him, and he leans in and says, "That's right, Frank Drebin, police squad."
Nice.
To correct, and that's the end of the movie.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Yeah.
I like that.
So it's, I'm playing with RoboCop, I'm playing with Indiana Jones, while also grafting that onto the conventions of the franchise.
Heard.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you decide what you like. Do you want a RoboCop Frank Drebin in the world of Indiana Jones? Or would you like a running scared Frank Drebin in the world of Nancy Pelosi?
Well, when you put it like that.
Along with Dirty Harry.
One of the reasons, just to go back to Harrison Ford, one of the reasons that I wanted to put such a big star in there, who was also in his own way old, is that I wanted to bring in the fact that they have a kid, but it seemed like this is the only way that wouldn't be shit. The only way it wouldn't ruin the movie is if it really just has to be an elderly Harrison Ford.
That's funny, actually. I mean, yeah.
Otherwise,
think that works great.
It's Alexander from The Next Generation, a kid that no one likes, no one wants, and is annoying every time you see him.
I should take your kid and have that be my kid.
Yeah, I think it's the part he was born to play.
Absolutely.
The son of Leslie Nielsen in the fourth Naked Gun movie.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
That as a compliment.
Absolutely. You let us know what you like. Find us on Facebook, find us on Instagram or Twitter. Send us an email to everythingsequel@gmail.com. For Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions, I am Michael Shantz of the How Dare You Awards. Say goodbye, Tom.
I used to be white.
That's a perfect ending. So long, everybody.
I like to think I know something about beer, but nowadays even I get overwhelmed when confronted by the exhaustive selection of craft beers they have at bars, breweries, and even grocery stores. Back in the day you had one, maybe two craft beers to choose from, and if you were confused, you ordered a Guinness. But in beerstinations like San Diego, the craft beer options lately are in double, sometimes even triple digits. So what's a beer drinker to do? You need what I need, the Vegas Beer Guys. Your beer of choice should be a perfect blend of malt and hops. And so a live show about beer needs that same balance. And the Vegas Beer Guys matches beer expert Dan Aker with self-proclaimed beer novice Stephen J. Weiss. The results are eminently drinkable. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. They'll try new beers, they'll tell you about beer. Think of them as your beer Sherpas guiding you up a foamy-headed mountain to reach the peak of your pint. God, I need a beer.
If you like podcasts like I do, boy, do I have a treat for you. You need to
stay on target
and check out the Sounds and Cinema podcast. Listen as your host, sound designer and music creator Tony Parham, and co-host, musical performer and sound lover Derek Hansen, D-Rock if you're nasty, and I am, discuss all things sound related to film, television, stage, and theatrical productions. They discuss environmental sounds, bioacoustics, dialogue, the nature of communication through sound, but as an added bonus, they drink beer and try to
stay on target.
Find them wherever you get your podcasts and listen to the pure mania of a man who can charitably